So Adobe just raised the prices again, and Affinity decided to do something very different and shock the world. And they just made the entire suite free, not just for a week or your first month, but free forever. And that's a very big statement to make. And it is designer, photo, publisher, all completely free. And as someone who uses design tools every day, I had to try it and see if it's actually as good as it sounds. For years, Adobe's Creative Cloud has dominated, and it's something I've been using as well, and still am using. It is everything you need, but it's expensive. It is a subscription method, and as a student, you could have student versions which still offered you everything you need, but the moment you not student anymore, the prices rocket up. And as most designers pay hundreds every year just to keep the tools running, Affinity is to be the paid one-time alternative. Still great because you own system, but now it's free forever. That means Affinity Designer for illustration, Affinity Photo for image editing, and Affinity Publisher for layouts, all completely unlocked and no subscription is needed. All right, so let's open Affinity, and this is the screen that you get when you open it. So overall, very kind of similar in terms of layout to Adobe, but there's some major differences when you start kind of looking into the version. So again, when you kind of open your system, you can then choose your essentially your work baseline. So for example, if you want to work in an A3, A5, or if you want to, for example, do it by pixels, you can do it all here. So we'll choose A3, and it gives you essentially your workspace. But the big difference that you have with Affinity, which I think is very interesting and actually very exciting, compared to Adobe, which is I think quite mind blowing, is that normally you'd have to bounce between working in Illustrator, between Photoshop and InDesign, exporting and reopening files each time. Here, you just jump between the personas and everything updates live. So all those essentially separate software is combined into one in Affinity. And that's one of the big selling points that they're going with. So you have, for example, your Vector Studio, your Pixel Studio, your layout, which is essentially your InDesign. And each time you change between, as you can see, it changes your workspace. So essentially, your studio becomes your kind of your own workspace, but what is even more exciting is that you have the studio manager, which allows you to create your individual kind of workflows. If you, for example, someone who is working much more focused on typography, you can add it in, and this is a different type of studio workspace. You have different types of tabs which are much more relevant to what you need. But additionally, is that you can actually create your own studio. You can create your name, for example, we'll say base layer. And then what you can do is you can change your color for the icon, whatever you'd like it to be. Then you can add your icon. Okay, maybe I would like to do something with something similar to Illustrator, but then kind of play around a little bit more. What you can do after this is then create a bit of a description that's something that's settled for yourself, or if say you want to export to workspace and share with others, you can do that as well. And for now, it might seem that if you switch between the two studios, they both seem similar, but what you can actually do is you can customize toolbars in an incredible amount of detail and save it for your own workspace. If you need kind of specific panels or toolbars, you can edit it. And what allows you this to do essentially is then to go between, say, layout, and then you have a much more simplified kind of workspace just for your layout. And then when you want to kind of need to work something for a very specific reason, you can go to your own customized toolbar, which I think is kind of an amazing thing to do. So yeah, very exciting to kind of see this integration. And we will have to explore this a lot more, but this is one of the big game changers, I have to say. So let's test a little bit its capabilities and let's try to create a quick poster layout just to kind of see, how it might differ from your workflow that you might have previously had in Adobe systems. And what I can see essentially is that this becomes a system that becomes a much more seamless process, which I think is really great. We will have to have a bit more time to kind of see how this workflow develops. I'm sure there will be moments which things are not as smooth as they are, but another benefit that Affinity has essentially decided to do is to say that every future update is also going to be free. So we're here to expect that this is not the final product. Things will essentially develop and change. And I think this is kind of the exciting journey. Will be really good to get started, especially it opens up new opportunities for designers who may not be able to afford Adobe. And yes, Adobe is essentially a professional standard and it offers different things. For example, as part of the Adobe package, you have all the AI tools and integrating AI systems into, say, Photoshop, Illustrator, and so on. And they're doing these kind of things, which creates different opportunities. And it's probably a conversation for another day. And Affinity does and have the conversation about integrating AI as well as part of it, which you can see has AI, Canva AI. The thing is, if you want to use AI tools, you have to have the premium subscription, which is kind of the main difference. But essentially, all the baseline tools and subscriptions in terms of kind of using the softwares, it's all free. So it is really great to see. And so, can Affinity replace Adobe completely? The answer, in all honesty, is probably yes, depending what you're looking to do. But it doesn't mean that Adobe doesn't have its own place as well. It all really depends on kind of your own needs and kind of requirements, as well as what you prefer to use. So for most creative freelancers, students, and small studios, absolutely it's fast, reliable, and your own files of forever essentially. So, but if you're deep in professional pipelines, motion graphics, After Effects, heavy 3D, Adobe still rules there, especially if, say, you're a freelancer or if you're working for a company. If you're a student, you might have a free student version. These things differ person by person. So there is no perfect answer to either, but it is great to see that there's other opportunities out there. Whereas previously it's kind of been Adobe is one way and that's it, there's no other options. So being able to see that other companies are trying to get out there and create new opportunities and create things tools that allow essentially designers to expand kind of their creativity. And at the end of the day, creativity isn't something that should be paid. It's free and should be free for all, which is what Affinity by Canva has in kind of the values, which is great to see. I'll definitely keep testing Affinity over the next few weeks, maybe even try switching completely for a month. And if you've been stuck with subscriptions just like myself, or are just curious now, is the perfect time to try it out yourself. Creativity should feel fun, and this move by Affinity really brings that energy right back. So if there's anything specific that you also like me to explore, test, kind of see what the opportunities out there are, then please comment below. And I am excited to see you guys in the next one.
Kids screaming